Hi everybody. So as promised, I said I would do a little video just to try and show you guys what my plans are for the potential kind of coming months, plans for lockdown and things. So here I am on a Sunday morning. I'm in my tracksuit bottoms, there's no makeup on, I've just thrown my hair up, but I'm here and I'm doing this for you guys as well. So I had some plans for what I was going to do during the week, but I've scrapped that, I've moved that to one side. I was going to do some stuff on like assessment methods and things like that, and I will still do that with you, but obviously I felt this was a little bit more important, and I feel at this particular time it's time for us to kind of lift each other up, help each other, support each other, get through this, because this is uncharted territories for us, really, isn't it? It's unprecedented. We haven't planned or prepared for this. This is going to expose parts of our business that we haven't planned and prepped for, maybe bits that we've been meaning to do and haven't done for a little while, and all of a sudden now we're going to get some time to do some of that stuff because we're not going to be able to do what we normally do as well. So it has given us time to kind of think a little bit more, and I feel like us as educators, we do need to look at how we deliver our stuff, but also we need to be there to support our students. I feel like that's part of our job and our role as well. So I will be sharing with you what I've been doing and what I'm planning on doing with my learners, and also for those of you that happen to be salons and things like that and are watching as well, I'm going to do a separate tutorial just for that, and if it helps, it helps, and if it doesn't, you don't have to do it. It's fine. I'm literally just going to share with you just the things that I'm planning, some thoughts and ideas, and if that helps one person, that's great. If it doesn't help anybody, I'm good with that as well. It's fine. I've got my plan, I know what I want to do, and if that helps someone else, then fantastic. And if it's not quite your cup of tea, that's okay as well, it's fine. But if it gives you some food for thought, and allows you to do something else that will help you, then that's fantastic. So again, I have popped it into a slide share really, because it's always the best kind of option, I think, when we're doing something like this. Just makes life a little bit easier, doesn't it, really? So we'll get kind of straight onto that. Oh, now I'm going to go and click back, aren't I? Okay, look, it's going all mental now, silly thing. Let's go back to the beginning. See, can't even work technology. It's a Sunday, I can't do it. So this is my alternative plan for educators. I've just went through all those slides, but never mind, I'm going to roll with it. I don't care, it's fine. Okay, so obviously, this is serious, isn't it? COVID-19, it is serious. It is real, and it is a risk. We haven't had this before. We're going to have a few tough months to kind of get through. We will get through the other side of it, but what we're going to look like the other side is going to be a little bit different to what we were like when we entered it. Definitely financially, and just personally as well. We're going to be slightly different people when we come the other side of it, and I think it's very important that we just accept, we do accept that. And allowed to kind of plan and prioritise what we can as well. And I am one of those, like I said in my post, I'm one of those annoyingly kind of positive kind of people. It's not to say that I don't understand that there's real risks and things like that associated. I do have to watch my own health as well. I have an autoimmune disease, so I have to be quite careful myself. And I have close family members as well that have particular kind of lung disorders and things as well. So, it is real, but I'm a very pragmatic person. And with any traumas or anything that's kind of, been thrown at me in my life, I'm very good at kind of taking a step back and being objective, and looking at a plan to move forward. I'm one of the life's planners. I plan everything, and I can't just sit still and do nothing either. I'm not one of those people. I've got to be constantly kind of doing something as well and helping out. So obviously your first priority is your health, your safety, your family, and then obviously ultimately your learners, and then so on and so forth as well. So you obviously need to keep your hygiene practices really rigorous. They should be anyway, but you need to get them really rigorous, and make sure that you're making it known as well, so that because your learners don't necessarily see all the stuff you do in the background. So make it known what you're doing to prep for their visit and things like that as well. Give them that kind of reassurance as well. Make a point of washing your hands in front of your learners, and obviously watch them do the same when they enter, and I would have a bit of a, if you're not going to wash your hands, you're not coming in kind of thing. That would be my policy right now, and just to really jump down just how important that is for everybody as well. So while you're open, additional hand washing, glove wearing, you can wear gloves obviously just for absolutely everything. Obviously we should be wearing it for certain treatments anyway, but you can adopt that kind of process. you know, in terms of masks, you know, they're not going to, you know, unless we're wearing those kind of like almost like a full hazmat one, aren't they? They're not really going to be that effective. And I think if anybody's showing any signs of symptoms and things like that, they shouldn't be attending anyway. So I would say to your learners, remind them if they show any signs of symptoms, they shouldn't be attending the courses. Same for the models when you're bringing them in as well. But be a little bit lax on cancellation policies, you know, because we're all in this, aren't we? And I wouldn't want someone to try and mask a symptom for feel that they're going to lose out on something as well. So, you know, my policy at the moment is, you know, if they're cancelling for whatever reason, they can't make it because they're not feeling well, we'll just move the date. It's not a problem. I'll just move the date back. I'm not going to charge them for moving the date back. I'm not going to charge them for moving it around. I'm just literally going to do that for them. So as a gesture of goodwill, no matter what the course is, if they suddenly can't now make that date, we will just rearrange a different date, and I'm not going to charge them for that at all. So it will still go ahead, it's just going to go ahead at a later date for them. General late cancellations, obviously your policy will still stand, yeah? So I think, you know, that's a fair kind of thing to make. I think your clients, you know, you'll be doing the same with any clients that you have as well. I would be quite active on my social media and on my emails, and remind them you're still here. Let them know that you're still here for them as well. You're there as a support network, you're there to still teach them as well, and to help them out with their businesses, and just be mindful of that as well. Just, you know, let them know, be a little bit active, and just to let them know kind of what your plans and things like that are as well, really. Obviously the best thing that your learners can do right now is to sort of tool up, hit the ground running a little bit when everything's all over. So actually, in terms of educating, this is probably the best time really for your learners to start kind of tooling up with some of the courses and things like that they wanted, so that they can kind of hit the ground running a little bit when it's all over as well, because it will be over eventually. We just don't know when that's obviously going to be. So obviously if a lockdown is going to be announced, I would be tempted to maybe work a few more extra hours, put in those last minute kind of course things to help kind of carry me over. If I've got staff, it's going to be all hands on deck. Do check out the government websites for your financial support, and check out ACAS for some of the employment issues and things as well. And if you've got staff, just be really real with them and just involve them in the process and say, right, like this, you know, brainstorm, like what can we do? How are we going to get through this? What can we do to help everybody? So it is a bit of an all hands on deck kind of thing as well. But again, obviously it's entirely up to you. But for me, I'd probably just, you know, whack in a few more extra hours, because you're not going to have them the other side of it, are you? So I would work a few longer days, just if that meant that I could get the last couple of bits and pieces in that someone wants before we have, you know, a definite lockdown time. You know, if we're announced and we say get like, you know, 7 days notice or something like that, I don't know what we're going to get. But if we do, that gives us sort of 7 days to get the last few bits in, and the others might kind of do the same as well. So things, what can you do? Well, you need to keep engaged with your learners. So obviously your social media posts, you keep reassuring them, sending out emails. You could offer a voucher scheme. This is like one of the things that Pete mentioned. You could offer a voucher scheme where like for every £1 purchase is worth like £2. So you could do a voucher scheme for your courses and things like that as well. So that's something they can redeem the other side of things as well. So that could be quite good. That will help keep some money flowing for you. And they get something better out of it the other side of it as well. Obviously you've got online resources, so you can educate your learners further. Think about what you can teach them. You can use things like Skype to teach. Zoom, I'm really fond of Zoom. There are some free apps, and they quite often they're allowed you to, like for Zoom for example, will let you do up to 35 minutes on their free app. Probably won't let you record it, but it'll probably let you do half an hour on there. It's not actually that expensive anyway. So for me doing this, this is a Zoom kind of call, if you like. I'm holding a meeting with myself and I've pressed record to my laptop, which I'll download that later, and then I'll be able to upload that into the various platforms and on my YouTube channel. So you can do it like that. You could have a meeting with yourself, or you can have a meeting with others and still record it as well. And all their comments and things like that don't pop up on the screen. It's only if they talk or something like that that you see their face pop up on the screen. A bit like the interviews and stuff like that I did before. You could do some little videos like I'm doing now, and you could send those via email to your clientele and to your learners, and just try and keep that connection with them as well. Let them know that you're here for them as well. But like I said, you know, now's the time really to sort of train things that you can do then. You can take your theory learning online, so you can, send them some pre-reading course material, so, kind of get that prior little bit done that you would normally do, those sort of introductory things, contraindications, history of the treatment, that type of stuff. You can do that. You could also email out the manuals for learning, if you don't want to kind of quite go fully online, or you just don't feel like you maybe have the time to do something like that. You could teach pretty much a whole lesson via Zoom or Skype, and certainly try and record it to use it for future things, because if you want to roll that out again, you haven't got to sit there and redo that again. You could use the group calls to teach, so if you've got a large quantity of learners you need to catch on, particularly things like AMP and stuff like that as well. You can run through an AMP slide like this in a Zoom call, and go through that with them as well, so you can kind of teach them like that as well. Take a proportion of those course fees to charge for the online stuff as well, so let's say you have a £300 course, maybe charge like £100 or 150, depending on what the proportion is of the course you're going to teach. I'd make it relative to the information you're sharing for that sort of transaction. But I would definitely do something like that. So take a small charge for that. That's a little bit more income for you, and you've done some of the groundwork for it as well. And add value to whatever it is that you're going to be doing. For me, I'm going to be adding additional training days post any lockdown that I do. So all of my learning is still going to take place. I kind of planned all this stuff last week actually, but I'd already kind of got all my learners pre-reading anyway. That's an area I'd already stepped into, and so they're all still doing their pre-reading, and any practical days that I've got coming up, I've contacted every learner individually, and they all know that we're going to switch to an online format if we need to. I've got a box of props to bring home, all sat there ready and waiting, because some of them I'm still using at work, but I'll be bringing stuff home that I'll be able to actually teach with. The salons that I'm going to be teaching, I've already let them know that they need to let their staff take home some bits and pieces for them, ready for me to be able to teach them in a virtual capacity as well. Because I was topping up some training for some local salons. So I've already had that kind of discussion with them as well. And I've also added, free of charge, I'm adding additional training days post the lockdown. So I should be able to get pretty much all my teaching done online anyway. But for me, I still like that hands-on thing. I'm a very tactile person. I like that hands-on. I like that communication with my students as well, even if I'm having a virtual call with them. So from that point of view, I'm going to tag that on the other side as well. So I will group them all together. They can come in, and I will kind of go back over some stuff again as well. But in the meantime, I've given them more than enough to get going, to get practicing. Like I'm teaching threading, that's coming up, that's something that takes some time and skill, and they've got case studies to do for that. So I'm going to introduce them to that area, and they can get on and practice while we're on lockdown, for example. So try and think outside the box for things like this. What can you physically do? I appreciate we can't do everything in a virtual capacity, but there's a large proportion of stuff we can do, and even if it's just getting the theory done and then you rebook the practical day later, that's good. That's a little bit one step ahead. It gives them time to learn things in a nice little kind of segmented way as well. You can spread it out and do like an hour every day or something like that, so you're not boring the hell out of them. You're not on a training call for 4 hours, but also it just means that bite-sized chunks, actually they're going to retain more than what they would have done if you've done it all in one day or whatever anyway. So have a think about what other hidden skills you might have, because you could utilize them. Like, are you a secret social media expert or something like that? Could you make a mini course like that to kind of sell for your learners to maybe do over the kind of the lockdown period? Because let's face it, this is the time when they need to start kind of doing that stuff a little bit more. So have a really good think about what you can do to get your learners through this as well, because I see this as a little bit of my responsibility. So ask yourself, what else do they need to do to survive? How can we help with this? Can we do some little online workshops? We've got some small skills that we could do as a little small workshop. It could even be things like, perfecting your polishing technique or something like that. If you've got someone who's quite new to, say, like the nail industry, or beauty therapy in general, and they've just learnt their manicures, maybe you could just do like a little mini course. It doesn't even have to be like really expensive. It just be a little mini course that you can do for maybe like an hour or something like that they can just watch and things like that as well, and just go back over some stuff as well that might be useful to them. So think about little mini courses that you could do, breaking down something bigger into more smaller manageable chunks that could become something mini that they could kind of build. And then you could also do like maybe an offer if they've done all your little mini courses, maybe that you can do maybe like an offer or something like that, just to wrap that all up in one big certificate when they come back to you later on. You could place everything into an online system. It is a bit of a big job. but if you have the time, then why not? It's all about future-proofing your business as well, really. So there are some people on the platforms that do some online stuff. I have built my own one, and it is something that's taken me months to do. This is something I've been moving into anyway, and I guess I'm quite lucky in that respect, that was an area I'd planned for my business to go in. I'd planned since about sort of September to do it, and I finally got some downtime sort of November to try and do it, and I spent most of November and December building my online platform ready to be launched in January. So that's what I've been working with now. So still not perfect, still needs a few things to be added to it. It's, you know, I've got a much bigger vision for it for the future, but I'd already started to move into that area. So don't take that as a good area to go into, but don't take that lightly, that it's going to be a really small job, but maybe just do what you can do in terms of a virtual kind of capacity at the moment, but maybe something to think about for the future. Future proofing now, we've got to think about, okay, what happens if this happens again? What happens if we have, you know, really big terrorist attack or something like that, or we've got a big warning for something, you know, and we have to do something similar again in the future? How are you going to cope with that as well? Have a little think about your salons then, so offer some salon training, and maybe in, like, you know, better sales or something like that, or procedures, risk assessments, all the stuff that they just don't get time to do, and don't get time to maybe do well, that maybe will build them better foundations. I think as salon owners now's the time to virtually spend some time with, you know, with their team members, with their staff, you know, and if they want to, say, increase their retail sales, now is the time to go over that stuff again, to start doing that virtual stuff. That can be their plan for lockdown time, because there are some things that they obviously clearly won't be able to do. If we get to the point where we're forced to shut pretty much non-essential businesses, and it'll only maybe be some shops and pharmacies and things like that open, like Italy has, then we need to plan for that. We need to think about what else we can do, and if we can't bring the money in, we certainly need to upskill our staff in any way we can, so that we can hit the ground running when we get the other side of it, and that they can walk into some of those jobs maybe better trained than what they were beforehand. You could even bring some technical props in, they could still do some bits and pieces as well. You know, if you can get some bits from the salon, you know, and you've got a couple of training heads or something like that, if you're a hairdresser, you can still practice and show them or demonstrate, you know, like some hair colouring techniques and things like that as well. There are things you can do if you're prepared to put your mind to it and think outside the box as well, and not limit yourself. So some online ideas that you can do. Some of this will work for you, but some of this will work for your students. And this is why I've left these slides in there. I've pulled this from the one that actually I'm doing for my learners. And I will put them up on the forums as well, for purely just a salon thing, some ideas for salons. But you could do certainly makeup lessons, break that down to segments, do days, evenings, smoky eyes, contouring. You could do some skincare ones, you know, how the client could look after their skin, aging, acne prone, dry skin. I mean, you could teach this stuff to your learners if they're not sure how to approach this, and then they could teach that to their clients. You know, skincare consultations, working on the bigger picture, you know, so maybe do a full-on consultation. Again, this is a Pete thing, but I pulled that one in. Sorry, Pete. You know, can you maybe send some products out still? So maybe you've done a virtual consultation with the client, and then maybe you can send some products out. Like, if you can still do that, I would, for products. So, you know, again, like, you know, your students could do this. Self-care tips, home care stuff. You know, if they can't get into the salon for their maintenance treatments, got to think kind of what else they could be doing. Maybe some nail care packages, or like just making sure they know how to remove a gel polish safely if the client can't get back in again. Group calls, giving some hints and tips. Maybe you can charge a really small fee for like a group call, but if you're doing something maybe one-to-one, then a slightly bigger fee will help with that. I would say to your, like, from their point of view, in terms of advertising, about, like, you know, not needing to lose the results that they've maintained. Like, you know, we're a results-based industry, aren't we? And the clients want to find a way of maintaining this stuff. You know, so, you know, things like eyebrows, like, you know, how to get them to maintain by tweezing their eyebrows so that we don't get tempted to self-wax at home and things, and how to pencil in their brows better without their tints, and how to do maybe like an online facial. They could do like a group facial thing with like pressure point massages and lifting techniques and things. They could do some home gift packs. You know, there's loads of things they could do. I put loads of examples up on here, you know, like massaging their partners, you know, if they've got really stiff neck and shoulders, you know, how to show their partner how to do something. You know, that could be a really good little workshop that even we can run ourselves, and put out there into the wider world as well. So just think workshops, think small little paid workshops, maybe record them, then you can recycle them out again as well. Look at maybe foods for better skin. You know, there's loads of stuff that you can kind of do really. And obviously there's a few more bits than that that I've kind of put in for my one that's more salon specific on there, but there's a few ideas anyway to kind of food for thought. So I want you to really have a little think about it, you know, what your thoughts are, what's going to work for you, think outside the box, what is no one else prepared to do. And I guess for me it's very much like, you know, I don't want to be a victim. I'm not the sort of person to sit there and wallow. I'm a proactive person. I'm a planner. I write lists for lists. You know, I write lists when I go on holiday just so I know what I want to take. You know, I'm that kind of person. And so it's not to say that I don't feel things. I'm not a robot. But I certainly will hold that a little bit more internally, shove that to one side for a little bit, be proactive. I'll think about that later on. I'm the kind of person that I will think about how that's affected me later once I've kind of got through it. But I'm not the person just to sit there and kind of be a bit like woe is me and things like that as well. I actually, you know, I like to plan, I like to be proactive as much as possible. So plan, be proactive. Think about your learners, think about what's going to help them as well as yourself, and obviously, you know, keeping your environment safe as much as you possibly can with your contacts and things. Take your props home with you, maybe do some workshops at home, and this is now going to give you the opportunity to really think about a different way that your business can diversify a little bit more in the future, and to maybe give you a balance of both, because we never know what the future is going to hold for us. You know, maybe we might get really poorly one day or something. It means we physically can't get in to teach, so maybe if you've got a few remote things that you can do, that would back that up and still keep an income coming for you. So I'm very much like, I like to look at an opportunity in everything. It's not that I would use this as an opportunity, and I would definitely say this to you and urge this to you, don't use this as an opportunity to make money. That makes sense. We're trying to find ways to survive, we're trying to find ways to move forward and make things better, and it needs to come from a place of help, not from a place of opportunity, if that makes sense really, because I think that comes really quite apparent to people. If you are just using this as an opportunity to make money because that situation is now suddenly there, that won't be looked on very favourably. But I think, you know, if we're all in this to kind of help each other through, you know, don't compete, help each other. If you've got some other kind of friends that are educators as well, bounce some ideas off each other. Get on a phone call this week, bounce some ideas off each other, help each other. If you've got resources you can share, then maybe share them. If someone's got a skill that you think would work really well for your students, see if you can share that resource, and then vice versa as well. Let's not just sit in our own little isolated bubbles of thinking we can't show Sally Ann down the road what we're doing because we must keep it all to ourselves. We know this is the time when we need to band together, and we'll all move forward for the better as well, because this is going to come to a point where, you know, people are going to go under. It's going to happen, and we're either going to do what we can, and it might still happen anyway. You know, this is not necessarily going to stop something, but I'm one of those people that I'd rather go down trying than anything else. So I'm not that kind of person. So I just think, you know, if you don't try, you'll never know. If you don't give it a go, you'll never know. What have you got to lose? You haven't got anything to lose from that, from giving something a go. But don't be reactive with it. Plan. Think about the what next. Think about who it's going to benefit, who the target audience would be, as well, and just, yeah, take your time really with that. So I hope that's kind of helped. I will now stop my screen share. I've got to stop my share, couldn't even find my button then. So I hope that was all kind of helped. If you need anything, or you want to bounce some ideas off me, that's fine. You know, comment in the boxes, PM me, it's all good. It's not a problem. I'm happy to have discussions over this, but like I said, I'm not prepared to like argue with a brick wall. You know, this is what I'm doing, these are my thoughts, this is a collation of my thoughts. If it helps you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. Do your own thing. It's all cool. No offense, it's not a problem. And yeah, I shall catch up with you guys soon. Take care.